Hi everybody, it's Colleen here and welcome to the Deck Pairings series. Now, I decided to do a series of videos to do with deck pairings because I've recently become slightly obsessed with them. If you don't know what deck pairings are, it's basically using more than one deck. All right, it can be 2 tarot decks, it can be 2 oracle decks, it can be a tarot and an oracle, 1 tarot, 3 oracle, all combinations thereof. And the reason you're doing it is because there's something in the cards that works well together. It might be the colors, it might be the artwork, it might be the messages that are, you know, sort of backing each other up, and all sorts of things. And when you see them work together, they kind of feed each other's energy, and it just becomes such a pleasure to work with them. And all of a sudden you can, you can expand on your reading because you have these kind of multiple messages and multiple images, and it's really very exciting. Whenever you find a deck that works really well together, it might just be me, I find it really exciting. So I thought I would do a video explaining how I started it, and then I will do a series of videos where I pair some of the decks that I have with others in my collection to show you some that work exceedingly well and others which are a bit like, okay, no, that didn't work so well. So what I did first is I drew a mind map. So if you don't know me, you don't know that I'm obsessed with mind maps. It's a concept of writing a central idea in the middle of a page and then branching off on kind of multiple ideas. So let me just share my other camera. So here you can see I started with this kind of central idea here. And what I did is I decided to try and pair my decks based on different creators, because sometimes creators have a similar style, a color palette. So sometimes colors work really well if decks are, both pastel colors or both bright colors. Also the artwork, so as opposed to the creator, because sometimes that's different. Sometimes you have a deck creator who comes up with the concept and writes the book, but the actual artist who draws all the pictures is different. Sometimes it's the same, but sometimes it's different. So I did one on the actual artwork itself, and also artwork and artist. Okay, because sometimes the artwork is similar even though it's with a different artist. I hope that made sense. Color palette I already explained, and then themes. Now this doesn't always work, and I thought it would. You kind of just think, oh well, these 2 decks are cat decks and therefore they must work together, but that wasn't the case. It didn't always pan out. So I put all the themes here, whether it was like a oops, I need to get my pokey stick, just 1 second. Okie dokie, I have my pokey stick because every time I put my hand in the way, the camera refocuses. So here is where I decided to get all the different themes. So, there's cat themes, there's witchy themes, there's plant themes, there's photographic themes, there's dragons, there's earthy elements, etc., etc. And what I did is I put all of those together, and I just checked out if they worked. And, sometimes they did, and sometimes they didn't. So then what I did is I created a kind of a list where I went through some of my decks and decided, okay, I think this deck would go really well with some of those decks. So I wrote them all there, etc., etc., etc. I've crossed out the ones that I have already done videos for. Obviously, there's still a lot more coming because it takes a lot of effort and a lot of space. And there's the other list coming up. So I'm just really going to show you today a very basic idea of how these deck pairings work, and then the next video will be the first actual official deck pairing. So I've just really grabbed three decks here, so nothing fancy. This is just to illustrate the concept of what it is that I'm trying to show you, right? So you have your Light Seers deck, and let's say you were using the Green Witch Oracle, and you drew this card alongside that Queen of Pentacles. Now, instantly, the word tranquility, along with her expression and her composure, for me is a match. So even though tranquility wouldn't necessarily be a keyword that you might associate with the Queen of Pentacles, you can see here in this instance how it works really, really nicely. And of course, you know, having the plant deck coming up with the Pentacles, which is earth element, works really, really nicely. So I would now bring in the idea of tranquility when I was talking about the Queen of Pentacles, and bring that into whatever position in the card spread that I was using. Okay, let's say we drew the sun. And same deck, the Green Witch Oracle. Let's say we drew the word purification. Now, you can see from the body language, again, of the woman and this massive big ball of sun, plus the word purification, it could clearly illustrate that she was opening up to some sort of spiritual, fiery purification. And you would pick up on the colors, the fact that there was those flashes of red and pinks in that in the oracle card that were matching the, you know, the reds and the oranges. They're very, very strong, powerful colors. So you would bring that in. So instead of only talking about the, you know, the concept of, you know, optimism and a bright future and all those kind of things that you would normally talk about with the sun card, you now have this element of purification. So that sun and the energy from that sun card is now being used on a purification basis. The same meaning of the tarot card, but it's being used in a different way. So then we have the Knight of Wands. Same deck, still Green Witch Oracles, just to illustrate the point, all right? So now what jumps out is not only the keyword, but the colors. Okay, so the colors are incredible. So you have that kind of orangey, burnt, rustic red kind of thing going on. So, I mean, you could bring that into your reading as well. But the very fact that you have a card called Energy, along with the Knight of Wands, I mean, it would be an absolute perfect combination. I mean, the Knight of Wands already is kind of double energy because it has the Knight energy plus the Fire of the Wands suit. And now you have a card with the same colors called Energy. All right, so that would, you know, you could bring that in. If you wanted to take it a bit further, you could see here that actually this card is associated with water. So you could also bring that into your card reading, and how would that fire and water now relate if you have a card with energy, another card that has this double fiery element, but you have water coming in as well. So, but anyway, that's not what we're talking about. I'm just getting carried away because it's exciting. Okay, how about the King of Wands now? And now we have the Goddess Dream Oracle, so a different deck, but also just with keywords. And now we have here a card called Strength with the caption underneath, Know Your Strength. Now what would immediately jump out for me here would be the two lions, because there's a lion here in the King of Wands, plus you've got the lion here. Now, obviously you could look in it a little bit more. The Goddess Dream Oracle, each card is associated with some form of goddess, and they, you know, from all over the world, so different cultures, different religions, different countries. So you would look at, I think this is but I might be wrong, this is some form of Aztec goddess, but her totem animal is the lion. So, you know, fantastic. And you would bring that into the fact that there's a lion here with this fantastic, strong King of Wands energy. I mean, you can see how those all play beautifully together. So it just would expand a little bit more. And certainly if you were doing an animal guide reading and these two cards came up, then you would know that that lion had a huge presence there. The same as if you had pulled those two, you would have that double strength. Okay, so we don't have the Fire of the Wands energy, but we have the fire now of the Strength card. Plus we have strength on the other side. So now we would know the message would be to know your strength and that inner strength. And oh, it's wonderful how they play together. But anyway, that's not the pairing that I had for that one. The pairing I had for this one was actually this. So interesting here, this card, because the Green Witch Oracle cards are all associated with elements. So this card is indeed associated with a fire element. But again, you've got the word courage and you've got the word strength, and those two, as you know, are very, very closely related. So having those two cards together, plus you've got the fire element of the oracle card, they now kind of backing each other up. So they're expanding on your original message that you would have just had for the strength card or just had for the courage card. So Light Seers, Four of Swords. Camera's lost its focus again. Come on. Ah, dearie me. Right, I'll put the other card down. If it doesn't focus, then I'll stop the recording and start it again. It might find its marbles. Nope. Stand by. Okay, we're back now that we have a little bit of focus. So here we have the Four of Swords card with this kind of quiet, sort of snoozing lady. With a card here now, this is the Magical Herb Oracle, with a card here called Meditation. So we now know this isn't so much sleeping as in resting, it's a kind of a focused rest. So that would tweak how you would interpret the Four of Swords. And of course it would depend on the position and the card spread and the question and everything, but you know, you could bring that in. And then lastly, we have the High Priestess. And again, we're back to the Goddess Dream Oracle. I mean, look at those colors. So those colors immediately jump out, the blues, the greens, the turquoise. And we have the High Priestess, which is a card associated with the water element. And we have this beautiful oracle card, which is very flowy. You can see the waves, the waters, etc., called Letting Go, Emotional Release. And you can really see how you could play with those two cards. So these few examples are really just to show you what you can get out of the card pairings. Okay, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So don't fret. Not all decks work well together, and not all decks speak well together. Let's just change back to this camera. So what I would suggest is that really you get out the decks that you own, and simply I'll show you what I mean. Simply put them in piles and go through the cards one at a time and turn them over. So let's say you have your Light Seers. Oh, I've just turned off the second camera. So let's just say you have your Light Seers here, and you have your Green Witch Oracle here. And just put them next to each other and just look at the message. Look at the colors, look at the artwork. Do those cards look pretty together? And not only do they look pretty together, do the messages seem to help each other out? All right. So again, we have Tranquility with the Queen of Pentacles, but let's take that one away. So now we have Tranquility with the Sun. So you see that has a completely different message. All right. But you can still work well with those. Tranquility with the Knight of Wands, complete opposites. Okay, so something that would depend on, now you would use the position and the spread to interpret where those are. So let's say you had your Goddess Dream Oracle here. All right, so now you can see here, the colors work beautifully together. The interaction between the characters work beautifully together. We now have a lion and a horse, so there's strength in different kinds of animals. And we have strength, know your strength, with the Knight of Wands, which is, you know, typically quite a strong card anyway. So where is that strength coming from? And you would know that from the card position and the question, yada, yada. But now we know that those two cards are working together. There's an added strength to that Knight of Wands. Okay, we've already done that one, so we know that one works well. And we've done that one as well. Now that works differently. that works differently because now we have the water of the High Priestess and, well, I was going to say the fire of strength, but that's perhaps not correct. Okay, so now we're having strength in emotions rather than that strength in that fire element. So this has a different aspect to it. So all you would do is you would just put your cards, no matter how many cards you had. So let's say you had this deck, then you had that deck, then you had that deck, and just put them next to each other and just literally just turn them over. You know, turn this one over, then turn that one over, then turn this one over, and really just see how the pictures go, see how the words go, see if the words match up with the tarot cards, see if the words match up with the pictures. You know, see if the little key phrases down, not so much with this one because it's a plant deck, but this has a key phrase at the bottom. See if that has some way that ties in with the tarot card, and just play with them and see how they work with each other. And that's all you would do. All right, so give that a try with the decks that you have at home, and maybe pop a comment below and let me know if you have tried it and if you've found any good pairings, and then I can see if I have similar decks, and then we can share some ideas. So that's it, just for the explanation. So let's turn that one off. So what I'll do now is I'm going to post this video up, and if you're watching it, then I have posted it up. And next week I will post the first actual pairing where I get out a deck and we go through quite a few cards together just to see how it works and see how the messages back each other up. And you can let me know how it goes. You can let me know if you're finding it useful. You can let me know if you have those decks in your collection and if you've tried those pairings, and you know how you felt about them, if you got on well with them, or perhaps if that particular pairing, you know, doesn't gel well with you. Let me know either way. So as usual, please like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. And I will catch you I'll catch you next week with the next video. Cheers for now. Bye bye.